As a child, did you ever dream of doing something extraordinary when you grew up? I suppose the stereotype would be becoming a policeman or a firefighter. When I was a child, I had many dreams of becoming many different things. A master detective, a wizard, a president, a king, a time traveler, an astronaut, or a great many other things. But as I grew older, slowly the realization came to me that no matter how hard I worked, no matter how much effort I put in, I would most likely never come even close to becoming 99% of the things I wanted to become. Wizards aren't real. My country had no space program. Time travel hasn't been invented. Marrying a princess would also not allow me to become a king, just a prince consort, which is assuming I could even find a princess around my age. Anyway, that is besides the point. The point is that almost all of my dreams were unattainable. What about realistic options? Astronaut, president, doctor, or a master detective? Those would require a lifetime of studying, and that is assuming I even had what it takes. In reality, outside of my own imagination, I was a remarkably unremarkable child. Low scores in everything with the exception of, strangely enough, English. In fact, I scored 0 in almost all subjects, with the exception of English. No matter how much I attempted to make a genuine effort, all the classes and all the subjects eluded me to no end. Over a weekend, I would at times attempt to hype myself up. Try to get out of this drought, attempt to become an elite student like the types you would find in anime, the cool types that would push up their glasses and act very serious and always be reliable at everything they do. And yet, when I showed up in class with all my newfound determination to create the best life I could for myself, I took a look upon the teacher's scribblings on the big blackboard, and I saw incomprehensible numbers, statements, subjects, and things I knew nothing about, and I knew not where to start. And so my determination and resolve little by little dissipated yet again. What a disappointment it must have been for my parents to find that their only son was such a failure in the esteemed education system that they had always been told would be the deciding factor of whether a child has a good or a bad life. Children who fail at school grow up to be losers, nobodies with low-end jobs that never go anywhere, and children who succeed become reliable adults with families, a house, a picket fence, and a good car with nice gas mileage. If you can't do good at school, how are you ever going to perform at a job, I was told. And having been told that reality for the entirety of my life, I was in despair. For no matter how hard I tried, I could not succeed. I deluded myself thinking I was above it all, that in the end I would be capable of doing something that nobody else could. But deep down I knew and understood the simple truth of it all. I was just stupid. Some kids are smart, and some kids are dumb, and I was the latter. I was completely and utterly an idiot. I could not understand or comprehend anything that the teachers attempted to explain. I'll never forget something a girl once told me, on the playground. A few of the other girls were surrounding me and teasing me, calling me a nerd, and then a girl from my class interrupted them. She and I had been friends years ago, but had drifted apart. She told the other girls, "No, he's not a nerd. Nerds are smart." And with those words I felt lower than the dirt beneath my shoes. I remember everything about that scene. The group of girls, the playground, the weather, everything. The only thing I cannot remember is what I responded. Sometimes I think about that. Why can I remember everything about that moment except my own response? And then it became clear to me. Because I had no response. Because I didn't say anything. I had nothing to say. Because in the end I knew it was true. Nerds are smart, and I was not smart at all. Even being teased by being called a nerd was an insult to nerds, who usually studied very diligently. I was just a loser. After many years of being in the school system, I was just going to stop going, I thought to myself. I don't remember exactly why, but I just stopped going. And for some reason my parents didn't question it at all. Eventually I was sent to a different school entirely, after having not shown up for a full year. I attended class for a few months, but after a while I just stopped going again. What was the point? I was so far behind every other student that there was no feasible chance or way that I would ever be able to catch up anyway. What would be the point of it all? More days of hyping myself up, creating the false hope that if I try hard enough, I would break out of this rut, when I knew that in the end my will to do so would fall before me and I would simply fall back down again. And so every day when I went to school, I wouldn't show up to class. I simply went to the school library, took out my laptop and started writing. Honestly, the writing was terrible. Just stupid cliché stories I ripped off from random anime I had seen. I just wanted to write. I don't even remember why. I would most likely never even come close to becoming 99% of the things I wanted to become. In fact, at this stage in my life, I was certain I would never achieve any dream at all, even the simplest of ones. And even if I studied my entire life, doing my absolute very best, my determination and intellect was just not good enough. Maybe the reason why I wanted to write was because I wanted the illusion of doing something important. I wanted to pretend I was writing something good, even if I knew I wasn't. Like, playing pretend to be an author, which I wasn't. The people who were going to end up living those adventurous and interesting lives, researching quantum physics, traveling to Mars, becoming political leaders, or writing stories that many people would want to read. The leading voices of my generation. Those people had already been decided. And they were certainly not writing cliché anime ripoffs in a school library while skipping class. I had the strange feeling I was destined for something greater, but little by little, through years of failing to do anything at all, I realized it was just a delusion. At that point, I had spent years of my life playing MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, just doing random things in the game, but even they started to serve as nothing but a reminder that my life could never be like those games. My life would never be an adventure. And so, sitting in the empty school library, all alone, looking out at the grand skies above that I would never explore, it all made me feel so very small and insignificant. And then on a whim, I decided to write a story about time travelers, and then a story about a president, and then a story about a detective. They were all terrible, of course, but I kept writing nonetheless, even if it was terrible. I attended an anime convention that year, as it had become a habit of mine to do so, and I also came to a sad realization during this convention. Everyone here has a purpose, except me. People were there to play video games, show off their cosplays, take photos of cosplayers, buy goods, sell their art, or go to panels and events. Why was I there? I didn't have anything to bring to the place. I was just an awkward 17-year-old with no future and a bad haircut. I wasn't going to any of the events, I wasn't doing anything at all. And so on yet another whim, I decided I wanted to make a place for myself within this convention. But what could I provide? My stupid novels that nobody wanted to read? People wouldn't read a boring, badly written novel about some stupid cliché anime story. But perhaps they would, if it had good art. A lot of manga didn't always have the best stories, but still became popular because of the level of the artwork in them. My naive brain thought this, attempting to convince myself that there was a chance for me in this world of anime and manga. So I stepped forward to the nearest artist alley table, and I looked at the woman sitting behind the desk. Her art was very good. There was even a manga that she had drawn, beautifully illustrated. So I asked her, "Do you want to draw my story?" Thinking back to this line, I can't help but laugh at my younger self. What an absolute cliché. Every reasonable person would say no to a question like that, and almost every artist has had that precise experience that I was finding myself on the giving end of. She responded by explaining all of her experiences, having gone to Japan, having spoken with Shonen Jump editors, lining up all of her knowledge and expertise in the field of manga. On the surface, she was simply talking about her manga and her projects. But the subtext was clear. Why would I draw your stupid Naruto ripoff, kid? I make my own manga. You're just some teenager that randomly approached my table. What logical reason would there be for me to lower myself to the point of accepting a script from you, when I can do the entire thing myself? And all of that is entirely understandable. It was an idiotic question, coming from an idiotic teenager who didn't know any better. I would have said no to this request if I had been in her shoes. I think almost all artists would have. But being the idiot that I was, I took one step to the left and I looked at the guy sitting next to her. And I asked him the very same question. Do you want to draw my story? Most of you in the audience would cringe now. He would have undoubtedly overheard the situation. Why would I expect his answer to be any different? Why was I doing this? Just give up and be a McDonald's worker, you absolute failure. Nobody wants to draw your stupid story. Everyone has story ideas. Writing cliché anime plots about lives you wish you had does not make you special. Anyone can do it. But I was too stupid to consider any of those thoughts. And so he looked at me, and he replied with a reply that I will never forget. Yeah, sure. Maybe someday, he said, as he looked at me unsurely. The Swedish gentleman who later confessed he was just too polite to say no directly, like the lady next to him had done, had actually given me a relatively positive answer. A tiny drop of a chance to do something interesting was in my eyes the mirage of an ocean, and so I grasped it immediately. Really? You might actually draw it? Can I send you my ideas on email? He said sure, why not? And I got his email address, which was, surprisingly enough, not a fake one. I spent the next 9 months sending him an email every single time I had any slight idea of what I wanted to do with a story, which was almost every day. And one day, after being barraged with what might have been hundreds of emails, he finally told me he would accept one. That artist, by the way, was Joachim Waller, the current artist of my succubus girlfriend. A dear and long-time friend of mine today whose unwillingness on that day might have actually given me my path in life. Thank you, Joachim. A lot of things happened after that. Years of intrigue, drama, hard work, and many, many instances of myself being a complete and utter moron and nearly sabotaging everything due to my stupidity, but in the end everything worked out. I'm now the writer of 12 comics. I write a comic almost every single day, and I have 2 original comics on Webtoon, a third one coming very soon, Clinic of Horrors. I write waifu comics and I play Yu-Gi-Oh! On stream, and I have a very nice life, and I'm very grateful. When I inevitably must face the end of my life, at least I will have a very strange and unusual one to look back upon. As for my comics, I know I'm not the best writer. In fact, I wouldn't even count myself among the better webcomic writers at all. There's so many brilliant writers out there doing webcomics these days. While I never think I improved that far from cliché anime plots, only really making them more tolerable as opposed to writing unique and high quality stories like many of my colleagues on Webtoon do, I still enjoy and love my job immensely. I want to keep writing my stupid stories, and I want to keep trying my best to make them better. In the end, I will never achieve 99% of the dreams I ever had, but I achieved one of them. I did become a writer. In one capacity, and I am very grateful for being given this opportunity by all of you readers, and it is something that I will always treasure and cling closely to. Maybe next time I'll tell you what happened after I was gifted my first comic project with Joachim, of how the company that was supposed to publish us went bankrupt and forced me into uploading it on the internet, of how I became a successful sales representative at a big company, to both myself and my parents' surprise, and how I used that money to create Merryweather comics. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and if you liked it, please subscribe and turn on notifications so that you may get the next one. Thank you. Woof.